as they do pick up their first win against the Americans on American soil since 1957. Schaffelberg opened up the scoring in this one, which also marked the first time since 1985 that Canada struck first against the Americans on American soil. 2-1 the final in this friendly, Canada-USA. Andy Petrillo, Jordan Wilson, Christian Jack with you. And I know there's going to be a lot of people, KJ, who are going to say, and rightfully so, it's fact, there are a lot of big-name players on this American team who are missing due to injury. My response is the Canadians still had to get the job done against the opponent that was in front of them. So what do you make of their performance?
Yeah, I thought they were absolutely marvelous. You know, it's a fantastic to see the trajectory continue out of Copa America. Look, the scoreline was decided by one goal, but the outcome and the performance, for anyone who watched it whistle to whistle, will know that it was a dominant victory. They were that good. You know, they completely controlled the game. The United States came back a little bit in the second half, but this was a dominant performance by the visitors. To go there and do something that a team hasn't done since 1957 is significant for us to talk about. And maybe it puts into perspective what they've accomplished. But that group of players, I don't think they really care about that. They don't care. They just expect to go there and win that game today. And they played that way. They didn't play like they were in fear. They didn't play like they didn't belong. They went there continuing off the swagger and the momentum that they had in the summer. They expected to win the game, and they played that way, and they delivered. It's just special to see.
Andy Petrillo, you told me I was supposed to be objective as an analyst and look. Woo! We'll take it. Because it was a dominant performance. Sorry about that. That's right. No, but from beginning to end, and even for me, KJ, a telling sign was 2-1. I think the goal's offside. We'll look at it in a little bit. But they didn't seem unfazed. I think Canada in the past, 2-1, you're playing on American soil. It could easily be 2-2 right after. They were still in the driver's seat. They still controlled the tempo of the match. There's a lot of positives to take from this game. I think this was a tremendous performance.
You know, whenever I have an opportunity to give a goalkeeper some props, I mean, Max Crepeau made a great save. We're going to see that in just a moment. But again, to your point about the Canadians playing with that kind of confidence, Patrick Schulte was called upon many times for the Americans. If it wasn't for him, this scoreline would look completely different. Let's get to one of the goal scorers for Canada. That was Jonathan David. He's our Gatorade performer of the match. A lot of questions, obviously, around him and when is he going to score again for Canada? But he does just that here, KJ. And we know that this is a player, I mean, Jesse Marsh loves him.
Yeah, so do I, actually. Yeah, it's an absolute gem for us as a nation. You know, the United States would love to have a player like that, no doubt. And a goal and assist after coming off a fantastic start to the season with Lille in the Champions League. And, you know, as I've said consistently, the world of football continues to underrate this player. He will get his big move next year. He's very content where he is at the moment. But while other big-name strikers around the world continue to get moves, he hasn't got it. But his, you know, we show his goal and assist there because it's a highlight pack. But his overall play was just fantastic. Again, his defensive work rate is a very, very special player for Canada. He's going to win them many games, including significant games in the 2026 World Cup. And he helped them win again today.
The goal for me, the second goal that he scores, is just a byproduct from all the work that he's doing. Being in the right spot, being on the front foot, pressing. And you're looking at that, and a lot of people would just isolate that goal and be like, oh, he's in the right place at the right time. But he always is. He's always anticipating, always being ready, and that's why he's on the finishing end of that. And you see that. He played Leon, but actually gets a fortune a little bit back to get that back. And then you know him 7 yards out, KJ. He's putting that top corner for sure.
Yeah, and we're going to show that assist because that's another thing that also shows how selfless he can be out on the pitch. And when he recognizes that someone else has probably a better opportunity, that's the Jacob Schaffelberg goal. We'll get to that in just a moment. But let's get you to the all-state save of the match. This was Max Crepeau, who had a very quiet first half. Quiet as in no shots, or there was one shot. It was 11-1, none on target. Little bit busier in the second half here. Balogun was searching for a goal. We know he scored against Canada before. That was in Nations League. But Max Crepeau, sharp here as well, and coming up with a massive save, keeping the Canadians, obviously, with their lead 2-1 the final. So let's talk about the Canadians getting that first lead. That was Jacob Schaffelberg. That's now 5 starts for him, 4 goals in 5 starts. How have you seen him grow, KJ, in the time that you've seen him with this national team that's made him now, you know, a stalwart to the point where we're not even questioning him getting called into camp? We're not even questioning him being a starter anymore. Yeah, look, I think first of all, it starts with environment. He was given an environment in Nashville where he could become himself again, fall back in love with the game again.
play under a coach and Smith at the time where he was given opportunities to feel like I am enough here. I am enough to play regular football in Nashville. And then the environment of Canada where they have obviously increased the level of expectations and demands. And these players like himself, Ali Ahmed, Chouanier, have gone up with that level. They've not come in and thought, okay, my level's okay. They've risen to the occasion. And so that's why Schaffelberg has improved so much in front of our eyes wearing this shirt. And the next bit for me is that he plays fearless. He's never scared of taking shots. And with Canada, they've got a lot of players that are actually quite selfless. David and Laren, even though there can be ruthless finishers, a lot of the time, Jordan, they are very happy to play passes in and work off the ball. And sometimes you need someone who's just going to give a little bit of effort and just... Canada has that with Buchanan when he plays. They need somebody who's just sometimes just going to go and think first shot first, think attack first. And then with Schaffelberg, we've seen a lot of his goals come from impulse and shoot first, and when sometimes you wouldn't think other people would do it.
I mean this with all due respect to Jacob Schaffelberg. This is a dog off the leash. This is someone that's hungry, running after that bone, and I think that's just Jesse Marsh's style. There's certain players that fit a certain system. This system that Canada's playing, that high press, win it on the front foot, bomb forward, get shots off, that is a system made for Jacob Schaffelberg. You can play a tiki-taka system and maybe he wouldn't be showing all his attributes, but this right here, 25 yards from goal, able to get the ball, prep touch, bang it far post, that is the Jacob Schaffelberg way.
When you think tiki-taka football, you think when he receives this, you think he could pass it back. Oh, look, Laren's open. Oh, David's making a run to the back post. He could pass it again.
One thing is on his mind.
The only thing he cares about is shooting in that moment, and he gives it a shot and he gets it.
Yeah, and oftentimes that's what he seems to do. And by the way, he got that really big goal against the Americans as well when you go back to the Gold Cup. And I feel like that was a little bit more of his coming out party.
Yeah, for sure.
As well. Yeah.
Just because that one, he was like from half and he was shifty. Great finish as well.
Yeah, that was in overtime and extra time there and getting the goal to give the Canadians the lead. Ultimately, they went on to lose in penalty kicks. Second goal, we already talked a little bit about it with Jonathan David, but let's break that down a little bit more.
Yeah, look, we've talked a lot about Jonathan David. I want to talk a little bit more about Kyle Laren. I want to break this goal down a little bit. So let's do that. I want you to watch Laren in this moment. You know, first of all, pause it right there if we can. You know, what we've done there is we've got a long ball over the top. Canada, first of all, haven't played enough of these long balls over the top for me. They played a lot of balls over the top into wide areas today that we haven't seen, and that's clearly by design. Here's Laren winning the ball. Okay, so Laren's won that ball. He's gone up for an aerial duel, and he's won it. The benefit of winning it right away is that the ball is now going the right way, not the other way. That's one small thing. But watch what happens next, and only watch this man here, Laren, as we play it through. And watch what he does. This is a player that gets told he doesn't score enough goals, okay? Now we'll pause it. Now he's posting up. So now he's won the ball back again. He's in a position to post up, surrounded by 3 American players. He's not thinking right away, I've got to be here. I want to be there. I want to get all the glory. I'd rather be up there. No, he's posting up and he's working hard defensively. What else is he doing? The combination between his partner. We talked about in pregame. Him and David and the balance that they work off each other and the blend they have is consistent. So now David is open up right away for Laren, who's now in a position where you say, okay, he's almost like an attacking midfielder. Play it through again. Now watch what he does. Plays it to his buddy, who turns. Now watch, pause it again. Where is he now? Now, this is called anticipation. He, instead of running into a block or a defender, he's goal side of a defender.
Yeah.
He's goal side there, Jordan. So if a ball comes through, if that ball goes through there, where's Laren? He's in the golden position. He's already done 3 positive actions, and we're not even into the box.
And the 2 things, running between the lines, pulling a defender away, and believing the pass will come.
Correct,
KJ.
yes. So now play it through. Now watch where he goes next. Now the ball doesn't reach him, so instead of giving up on the play, he sees the winner. Pause it now. So now, what has he done? In a second, he's now open. He's now moved open into that spot, Jordan, to receive the ball again.
And how many strikers do we see, KJ, that would just stay there and shrug their shoulders and turn off for a split second?
Right.
But in this system with Jesse Marsh, look at how many players are around the ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ready to hunt, ready to win it back. And this is what leads to the goal.
And Jonathan David doesn't score this goal without his buddy Kyle Laren. So we can give David all the props, which we do. And Laren, okay, we talk about the fact he's got 1 goal in 14 now for Canada, 8 in his last 54. But this is why he's in the team. Play it through now. So look where Laren is now. He's in a position to receive the ball and then get goal side of it away from the defender and play in his teammate to make sure he scores the goal. So there's a lot of positives for me on Laren again. Doesn't get always the props, but I think it's for us to try to highlight that. Hopefully people at home. But getting that ball there ahead of the defender is so crucial, Jordan.
It really is, and that's a beautiful finish, and that work, again, from Lair, and you saw the first half, that one being 1v1. He's getting in the right positions and the right spots. Surely at some point it's going to tick over.
This is why when people talk about, and I'll mention it again, it's like, oh, we should play Fonzie on the left, Buchanan on the right, David down the middle. Don't know whether they can play two together. Those are the moments that Jesse Marsh has envisioned. Those are the moments that this is why he plays the two. People would say, why would you play a 4-4-2 against the French, against the Dutch, against Argentina? You need to pack the midfield and block it up and play transitional and hope that your striker can just play 4-3-3. This is what he plays them for, because they work off each other and they work so hard defensively. And it's contagious. So David is for me, now they're tied in goals, but David is the best pure finisher that Canada has had, and maybe ever. And so Jonathan David is showing Kyle Larin all the defensive work that he has to do. And Larin's game has gone from here to here defensively. Now, he's not got the goals all the time, but they're coming. But he's looking at Jonathan David and going, if he can do that, I can do that. And this is what Jesse Marsh wants from him. More sprints, more aggressiveness, more playing forward, winning the ball, winning the duels, and then the goals will come. And those are the moments that those two continue to do to set the tone. If your front two players who get the goals are putting the defensive work in and working hard, everybody else is following.
That took a few minutes to explain, but that all happened in seconds, right? No, but that's how quickly your brain also has to work, and how quickly you have to see things transitioning as well out on the pitch. The Americans do get one back. No VAR in this international friendly. Offside to you?
I think so. I mean, we watched it back probably a dozen times here in the studio, and I understand there's no VAR. And you're looking at it live. The linesman has a great view of it and can really see. But for me, the defender needs to break down situations. Alphonso Davies here, just want him to be a bit more switched on and not so casual. But again, you still feel like Canada are in control here. Morris tries a little Maradona. It falls. And I feel like he's offside, KJ. I mean, this is probably the best example when we look at it and we see it live, is that you see Bombito, the top, is kind of leaving him onside here, but right here for me, he's a yard offside.
Yeah, Morris has done the drag back, and that's where we paused it, because that's where the ball leaves his foot. You can see, look, the angle isn't perfect. It's one of those that's really close. I'm not going to certainly criticize an official. You can see the official's view at the bottom of your screen. He's looking across it. It's a split second. Maybe the official, don't forget, the official that has to see when the ball has left Morris. There's a question whether, does he drag it a little bit longer? And at that moment, you're talking split second, right? Davies clearly believes it. He thinks he's given up. He could have tried and defended it there and thought he's gone in. He has a great view of it as well. It's very, very close. But I'm with you. I think Alphonso would say that when he's running back towards goal, he would like to be a little bit sharper in that moment. But I do think defensively that Davies had a very good game.
He did. Oh, for sure. And there was recovery runs as well. Again, goals, whenever you look at it, coaches will look at 4 different things that you could have done differently, right? And who should have closed down a man in a certain time. That probably, for me, with Davies is the most apparent one, just because it comes through the back 4. He's the last one without any pressure. And it's okay if it goes out for a corner, but the fact that it goes through him and they're able to recycle, that's probably an area you want to get better at.
Quickly, though, I want to give you props to, you're always on about clearances, right? Make or break. And I thought Canada, even Davies today, that their clearances, their balls out from possession, they were a lot sharper, and they didn't seem like they were scrambling.
I totally agree with that, KJ, but also when they cleared it, it's the 10, 15-yard sprint after. So compact today. That's something that Jesse Marsh, for sure, has told this group that they need to be. And there weren't many times Americans could really play through Canada.
Yeah, that goal, the only blemish, because Canada with the 2-1 victory here, their first victory on American soil since 1957. We'll see the Canadians back in action again on Tuesday. This time they're taking on another CONCACAF giant in Mexico. Be sure to join us for the pregame show, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on One Soccer. So Jacob Schaffelberg getting the Canadians on the board first. They struck early, 17th minute. What a time Schaffelberg is having with the national team. And Jonathan David finding that scoring touch again for the Maple Leafs. Stay with us. We have more coming up on Matchday Live.
This is not just laundry. This is laundry that's one and done. This is the ultra-fast combo laundry machine that does both washing and drying cycles, so you can take a load off. This is cleaning large loads in about 2 hours. No more checking, no more forgetting. Profile is revolutionizing laundry, making any room the laundry room. This is GE Profile.
Thank you, Canada, for making dreams come true. We're with you all the way.
Here are your full-time stats between Canada and the USA. So the Americans obviously making some adjustments in the second half, taking over some possession here, getting some shots on target as well to the Canadians here. But either way, Max Crepeau coming up big in that second half. Canada adding another goal, Jonathan David. So 2-1 your final. So while we can argue that the Canadians maybe could have had some more goals here. They were definitely pressing. They were getting a lot of chances. There were moments where the Americans were making things interesting, and we wondered if Derek Cornelius and Moise Bombito could pick up where they left off as that center-back pairing. Let's focus on Moise Bombito just a little bit here because he's relatively newer to the national team than Derek Cornelius. So we thought, oh no, was it a flash in the pan what he was able to do? No, not whatsoever. If anything, it's like he's gotten better.
He's a gem.
Yeah.
Manna from heaven. Literally, no, all jokes aside, his X factor is the fact that he is so fast, great in 1v1 situations, and he reads the play. Every time he's anticipating, more often than not does he get it right. And you see situations tonight, KJ, where he's just on top of it. The pace here. This is a situation where a defender, you have to be patient. But look at him. He gets so close, you try to nutmeg, uses his size, still plays it, composed. He plays the game as a center back like he's been doing it for 15 years. And for me, the situation, Pulisic gets the better side of him, gives him just enough contact, KJ, to not give the foul, just to let him know that he's there. Even in this situation, this is the worst for a defender. 1v1, if you get it wrong, the Balogun's in on goal, and he just handles this situation with so much class all the time.
Yeah, look, he's got, incredible athleticism that gets him out of trouble in a lot of the areas that he's blessed with, right? A lot of people don't have that athleticism, and he can take advantage of that in moments. But for me, it's his physicality, his bravery that has allowed that he knows he's got that athleticism already, and that is what pumps him up for it. You can see what it means to him. I had a great chat with him this week, and, all of those physical attributes are, of course, extremely important, but his mindset is off the charts. This is somebody, again, who has come into this environment with a growth mindset of consistently wanting to get better and better and better. Jesse Marsh's relationship with Chris Armas helped that, because when Jesse Marsh got the job, Chris Armas is basically one of his best friends in football, was coaching Moise in Colorado and said, you got to watch this guy. And now we know how quickly his 2024 has become. But, he said to me, I go back and watch football all the time. Video, not only of myself, but of Van Dijk, of Rudiger, to see how I improve. Those are the players he mentioned. He's consistently doing it. And when I watched him today, I watched a player that was like, hold on, I've defended against Messi. I've defended against Lautaro Martinez. I've defended against the Dutch. Like, he is composed now. He now knows he belongs in those areas as well. So he's got over that mental barrier as well, which means he can flourish in an environment and feel like that he's very much comfortable where he is.
Quickly, you talk about physical attributes. All I want to say is playing against players who rely on the physical attributes usually gets them in trouble, especially when you're a defender. But when you use it in the right way, like Moise Bombito is, then you see the success that it brings. So for me, it's just, he's a gem of a player to see.
Yeah, and to your point, though, a lot of those experiences coming fairly recently. So if he's already showing this confidence now, has he even reached his ceiling yet? You just wonder how much better he can get now that he's also playing over in Europe. Ali Ahmed getting the start in this one, too. A player at the Vancouver Whitecaps. You're a big fan of Ali Ahmed, and how did you make of his performance here tonight?
Yeah, just from the humility he has as a person, but also for me, the tenacity he brings to the game. Like going forward, and we tease about the fact that he's just so gangly and there's just limbs everywhere and moving, but he never gives up. And we even show a clip, 84th minute, there's a loose ball, and a lot of players would get on the other side of the American, but he's going for it and getting fouled. A player to win fouls, to keep pushing, to get in the pockets, to run at players, to always want to create is a delight to have. And I could see why Jesse Marsh gave him the start today, but also just wanted to push this young man on.
So direct as well, right? He never gives up on the play, but always wanting to go forward. Versatile player. I think I could see him quite consistently falling back to play as a fullback.
Yeah.
For me, at a higher level, if I'm thinking about a potential European move. But you're right, he was involved in a ton of play. And sometimes the Americans just didn't have the ability to keep up with his pace either. And Canada is so blessed when you think about, we don't even have Buchanan in this team, the athleticism and the pace that they have in this side. The other thing I'll say about Ali Ahmed is, I think that Vanni Sartini and the Vancouver Whitecaps deserve a tremendous amount of credit for him because they knew what kind of gem they had. And instead of, I think, working with Ali Ahmed, and this is what people make mistakes of at the professional level, is a lot of places when you get in the wrong environment, and a ton of teams do this in all sports, you focus on what they don't do well rather than what they do. And they focused on what he does really well and allowed him to flourish. And just to be that maverick, sometimes he can be unpredictable. They haven't turned him into this shell of a player and say, no, you're a right back or you can play as a 6. It's like, no, go. You can keep going. You see what they've done in the Canadian Championship. And then when Jesse Marsh and Canada, when they inherit that, he is already at that level where he goes, I'm excited. I do this for my club. I can do this. And so that's what the football world is about, is taking a player like that, molding them in the club level. When you receive it from an international level, you go, okay, now we can move it on. And both sides win because the Whitecaps inherit now someone who played for Uruguay at the highest level, has just won a game against the US, and they can't wait to receive him back, Jordan, so we can take them to another level.
We spoke about Schaffelberg and the fact that he's a dog off a leash, and you talk about Ali Ahmed, a bit different type of player. But if you look at the qualities and the principles that Jesse Marsh is trying to preach, he embodies all of that.
Yeah.
Presses on the front foot, loves to go 1v1, whether it's defend or loves to attack. He has all those attributes, can play inside, can play outside, is comfortable going at one player and handling those situations. So for me, giving him an environment to grow and to be better in, that is the main priority. Getting the start today, getting a full game, nearly a full game under his belt. This is what you need from the young Ali Ahmed.
Yeah, and the young players not buckling under any kind of pressure. 2-1 the final here, Canada over USA. They do have another game coming up against Mexico. They also have that home game that a lot of the home fans have been waiting for. That'll be against Panama. Jesse Marsh, 9th game as manager of Canada, picks up his 2nd victory. More to come here on Matchday Live on One Soccer.
Thank you, Canada, for making dreams come true. We're with you all the way.
Fall migration has begun, and the elusive yellowback smiley prepares with thousands of rollbacks. Routine pattern for prices headed south.
That sounds magical. Can I see?
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
Degree, 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree, keeps working when others stop.
Stay with us here on One Soccer. We are not done. Coming up, Canadian Premier League action. It is Forge versus Cavalry, the Tony Bet match of the week in Hamilton. You know, it's always going to be a great night when a rainbow makes an appearance. By the way, some update on some injuries that happened to Canada here against the United States. Alistair Johnston was subbed out of the game. It appears to be a hamstring tightness, nothing serious, so you keep your fingers crossed with that. Derek Cornelius had to leave the match due to a head injury. Those are a little bit more tricky, so they'll assess him and see how he's feeling, because coming up next, we don't know if we'll see either of those players in the game Tuesday against Mexico. Then they also have more friendlies. October, of course, Panama. CONCACAF Nation League quarterfinals. You have the league finals, friendlies, CONCACAF Gold Cup next year as well, KJ. When you look at this calendar year and then even beyond, just, you know, if you're just seeing Martian planning things, how is it looking to you? What are you scheduling in?
I'm circling that Nations League with a big bright red pen. That's what I would be doing. Canada are consistently getting better at ticking off things that have been annoying to them and internal goals. They were very frustrated that they lost to Trinidad and they didn't make Copa America, and then they ticked that off and found a way through the repechage backdoor way of beating Trinidad. They were very frustrated that they couldn't beat the United States in the Nations League. They've done that today. So the Nations League becomes the next big thing. You go to the United States on home soil and you beat them the way that you did in a comprehensive manner. You've been thinking, okay, we can go and win that tournament now. And so Nations League quarterfinals becomes the first thing in November. You got to get through that, which they didn't do last time. And then for me, you know, that's what's so exciting about this, is that it is not Copa America straight line to the World Cup. It is every credit to what CONCACAF and the World Football governing bodies have built, is that there's consistent benchmarks consistently all the way through to the beginning of the World Cup.
And look, the elephant in the room for me is Canada need to win silverware. They need to win hardware. They need to get, whether it be a Nation League final, whether it be a Gold Cup, they need to be there, last team standing at the end of it. And for me, you're hosting or co-hosting a World Cup in 26, you want to have full confidence going into that tournament that you're at the best football that you've been playing.
And it's based on the way they're playing that I think that expectation also exists among the fan base. Again, what you were able to do in Copa, getting into that third place game, playing for any kind of top three within CONCACAF now in particular. You're right. Get back into those finals. That would be their first trophy since 2000. We know that is the last time they were able to put something into any kind of trophy case, and that was the Gold Cup. We're not done. Where are you going?
I'm just dapping up everyone.
Now we are not done. We are wrapping up this international friendly here. Canada, USA. The Canadians picking up a victory on American soil for the first time against the United States since 1957. They'll be back in action Tuesday. We'll be bringing you that game, but right now we are staying right here on these sofas or couches, whichever word you use, because we are getting set for the Tony Bet match of the week right here on One Soccer. Stay with us, footy fans.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
Thank you, Canada, for making dreams come true. We're with you all the way.
Life's better with extra space. Space for family. Space for memories. Space for you. Try 4 weeks free. Access Storage, proud partner of Canada Soccer.
this could be interesting for Forge. Let's see as Para sends it in. Forges, yes! And that is that. Airflow, dangerous in. Under the goal. That's a bad decision. It's going to be a straight ejection. And they've reached the finish line. Across to the spot, it's headed on. And Dan Klopp from the corner out towards the near post. And that's an own goal.
For the final time in the regular season, these two rivals go head-to-head. In the previous 3 matches between Forge and Cavalry, they each have a win. And the last time they met, July 21st, it ended in a 1-1 draw. Who will take the season series tonight? It's the Tony Bet Match of the Week on One Soccer. Let's welcome you back into the studio. If you've been watching the international friendly between Canada and USA, yes, welcome back. To those who are just tuning in for some CPL action, welcome to the fun. Annie Petrillo, Jordan Wilson, Christian Jack. We love when these two teams go head-to-head as we bring you the standing. And it's Forge right now sitting in top spot. You know they want to create some more separation between themselves and Atletico Ottawa. York United just picked up a win. They're sitting in that 3rd spot. Cavalry right behind them. 3 points would be huge for them. Vancouver right now holding on to that final spot. But you can see the gap there between Cavalry and Vancouver, 34 points to 26 points. So what's at stake as we near the end of the regular season? Let's begin with Cavalry, and they have been on quite a roll. They had actually won 5 in a row, points in 6 before giving up a 2-goal lead in their last game versus Valor. So that ended up 2-2. Still, though, they've gone 7 straight games with a point. You can see their record here in August: 4-1, 10 goals scored, 6 goals conceded. But when you looked at that standing, when you see right now what they've been able to do to get back into the conversation here, KJ, after the start that they had, what's at stake for them?
Well, what's at stake for them is to prove that, they are not the 4th best team in the Canadian Premier League. That's what the standings say right now. But those of us that watch it closely would say that they're not the 4th best team in the CPL. In fact, they have been the best team in the Canadian Premier League for 2 months. That's how good they've been. But we all know that here come Forge. And we all know that every single time that Cavalry feel like they have momentum and they want something to prove something, here come Forge. And so Cavalry don't want to go back to Calgary tomorrow thinking we've been really good and we've been the best team for 2 months, but suddenly Forge again have done it to us. So I think what's at stake is for them to continue to show that they can do and play the best football and show the best version of themselves against their old enemy, the arch enemy Forge, Jordan.
But then 1 point, if a win today, you're 1 point away from first. You're there on the heels of Forge. And for me, if you ask a Cavalry player the color they hate the most, it has to be orange, no? These two, Forge and Cavalry, these Titans have been going at it since the beginning of CPL.
It's so great, though.
And, a great story.
It's so great.
But, we're looking at it again. If you're there watching from last year, 2023, and CPL finals, they want their other shot. They want their revenge to win both. I think a win today for Cavalry puts them in contention to go and do that.
And it was spicy in the Canadian Championship as well in 2019. I mean, they have history both in the CPL, obviously. That's what's the greatest, but then also in the Canadian Championship. That's why it's the rivalry that keeps on giving. And we'll take a look at Forge again, formidable foe regardless. And yes, they seem to have had Cavalry's number, especially when it comes to winning that trophy in the league. But they've had the best record at home in the CPL. They're undefeated in their last 5 as well, with 4 wins and 1 draw. So what would you say is at stake for them, Jordan?
I mean, I think a win today gets them 7 points clear, and they're looking like a team that will really go on and do it. At this point in the season, KJ, with 7 games left, 6 games left, and you're approaching, and you're going to get things done, if you're 7 points clear, and you're a team that usually plays in the last game in the CPL, you're feeling really good about yourself, specifically doing it against the Cavalry, who is the team that you usually go up against.
Look, we said Cavalry have been the best team in the CPL for 2 months. Forge have been the best team all season. And that, consistently, I mean, I was there at the last game against Pacific. It was 3 days after the Canadian Championship semi-final where they got crushed, emotionally by TFC. Same thing happened to Pacific. They rested a bunch of players. They made 6 changes. Becker didn't even play. Borges was on the bench, and they outplayed Pacific consistently. And it's the players that are telling me afterwards, and Bobby Smirniotis, that it was all down to the fact that last season at home, they were nowhere near happy with their form. They only won 4 home games last season. Yeah, everybody remembers what they did, and they beat them at the end, and that was all that mattered. They lifted the cup. But they were very disappointed in what they were able to show their home fans consistently. And they've not just flipped, made a small change. They've made a big change. They've flipped it. And they've been dominant at home. They score goals early. They get goals from set pieces. Obviously, they've lost Poku now. Big days again for Jordan Hamilton going forward. But, they are the cream of the crop when it comes to CPL at home this season. And they play the style of football at home that they're happy where they are and they're comfortable with that big pitch, and it works for them.
Let's take a look at their starting 11 right now. Still a very strong field here that Bobby Smirniotis is putting out. Once again, worth noting, Kyle Becker not starting, but Noah Jensen has really solidified that spot in the midfield as well. And we've seen Borges and Baribanga score those goals for them, having to pick up where Kwesi Poku obviously has now left and been sold. He's moved on to Belgium. And once again, we can see Kolelat is in net. I always get that name wrong there.
Kolelat.
Kolelat. See?
I feel like I like yours better.
I gotta get it.
You've got Kolelat and you got Kalongo.
That's why I think I married the two together.
A little hybrid.
You're just trying to get me, Forge. I know what you're trying to do. Let's hear from Bobby Smirniotis now with Mackenzie Barwell.
Coach Bobby, you have another opportunity tonight to get 3 points closer to the CPL Shield. How important do you see this result in this regular season title race?
I think the most important thing is it's an opportunity for 3 points at home. We've had an excellent record here throughout the season, and we want to make sure to keep that up, and we're not thinking too far ahead. There's a lot of football still to be played.
Noah Jensen is coming off of his stellar performance against Pacific last week, 2 goals. How do you balance in-form players like him with players like Kyle Becker who have really cemented themselves into the starting 11?
I think it's easier when you look at a player like Noah Jensen. He's always been a big-time player for us, whether he's starting, coming off the bench. So in situations like this, it's important. He's had a good couple of weeks of training. Obviously, his performance last week was excellent, and he brings something positive to the squad.
Forge to play one of their biggest rivals at home tonight, as you just said. What does this matchup bring out in both Forge but also the fans?
I think a fantastic competitive nature. That's what we see all the time, is that 2 teams who want to win, 2 teams who want to fight, and I think we'll see the same thing today. A lot of times I'm walking from my office.
All right, thank you, Mackenzie. Let's begin with Noah Jensen. Obviously, Bobby Smirniotis talking about him. On one side, you never want to see, someone of the stature of Kyle Becker dealing with injuries and being in and out of the lineup. But at the same time, when one door closes, another one opens. And Noah Jensen has been taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, I've been knocking on the door for quite some time. I think when he subs into games as well, he doesn't look out of place. He gets quickly into the momentum and feel of the game. And KJ, for me, and other teams in this league, he would start week in and week out. I think it's just a midfield of a job report for me, who's the best defensive midfielder in the league. A Kyle Becker, who is just a tempo guy, who gets things going, makes runs that most people don't do. So it's tough for him. However, when he gets that moment, last week he was the captain against Pacific, scoring 2 goals that honestly not many people could do the way he struck it, cleanly, with confidence, and takes his moments. And I think Bobby Smirniotis does a great job with bringing in young players like Noah Jensen, giving them the right opportunities at the right time, but then saying, look, now's your time to go a bit further, and Noah Jensen's taking it with 2 hands.
You talk about opportunity, it's so true. I think this is just the 3rd time he's played back-to-back starts. So he's always understanding that I might only get 15 minutes, I might get 20 minutes. By the way, at BMO Field, he didn't get any minutes, and that must have been disappointing. And then what does he do 3 days later? He walks into the dressing room at St. Martin's Field, and there's a little gift for him. It's called the captain's armband, and he has to get that. He didn't even know. So Bobby rewards him suddenly, even though he didn't play. You're now my captain. He goes and rewards him with two gifts, with 2 volleys. Outside the bar volleys and smashes them into the net. So it's give and take. And with Jensen, it's fascinating to me that he could play with a Jabapur and Becker, but with the way Borges has developed this year to be that dynamic player as well, it's a little bit too familiar and too similar that he wants that threat as well, and also Borges with the left foot. So, look, for me, on his day, Kyle Becker is the best player in the Canadian Premier League on the best team, and it doesn't do them any harm to say, last week you're not playing, this week you're on the bench. will give you your time, because when they can get Becker and Jensen and Ajabapur and Borges all in, and Cisse, we'll get to in a second, it's boy, oh boy, how fortunate and lucky they are to have a midfield like that.
Well, let's talk about Aliman Cisse.
Yeah, for me, you know, when he was here a couple of seasons ago, he was the best number 6 in the Canadian Premier League. I'll let this man talk about him too. He's gone up against him a number of times. He's been hurt a little bit. They had a long problem getting him in here with the work permit and getting him to Canada. It's worth the wait. Thankfully, he's only missed a couple of games through injury. He's versatile, can play right back. I'll be interesting to see today. He's almost going to play as an 8.
Yeah.
And you need his legs against Cavalry as well. And when he's on his game, I always say this: he was like the CPL version of N'Golo Kante, the amount of energy that he covers.
Yeah, and a couple of weeks ago, I was gutted when he came off injured against York United.
Yeah.
At York Lions Stadium with that little ankle Achilles injury. Just because the way Bobby Smirniotis wants to play, you need someone that can play in the middle, a 6. He can play an 8. He can play right back. He's a Swiss Army knife. And what annoys me about Cisse going up against him, maybe not so much now that I get to watch him, but that he just makes football look easy. Passes that, for me, I'm concentrating. Got to get it right there. He just plays it. It's just simple. He makes football look easy, and that is why he's a Forge type of player for sure. Yeah.
All right, well, that's who Forge will be fielding. Let's take a look at Cavalry's starting 11. Again, points in 7 straight, but they've been dealing with some injuries up front as well. We know that Waszewski is injured, so who will they be looking at to provide those goals? Obviously, there is a look at Tommy Wheeldon Jr.'s lineup. Let's hear from him now, as Mackenzie joined him earlier.
Tommy, your team has been unbeaten since mid-July. You're now up to 3rd in the CPL standings. What do you think has been the difference for your side?
We got an attack back. We've always been in every single game, and I think when Ali Musi comes back in, Mile Henry, you know, these guys add quality and they've added goals as well. So with it comes confidence, and lads have always had a nice style of play. It's now putting results on the board.
I want to highlight another one of your players. Dan Klomp was just recognized as August CPL Player of the Month. How crucial has he been in your team's recent success?
Oh, he's a top player and a top character. I mean, there's not many defenders like him that play with such freedom, adds to a goal threat, but also is very good at defending our box as well. So he's helped with keeping our clean sheets high, but his winner against Pacific was an important one, turning 1 point into 3, but terrific player.
Well, Forge Cavalry, we've seen this before. We know how heated this matchup is. In your opinion, is this the most, if not one of the biggest CPL rivalries?
Listen, it has to be. I mean, you look at the games that we've had, they're always dramatic. There's always high quality. There's tactics that are thrown in. There's changes of tactics. I mean, Bobby's built a terrific football club here, and I think we've done the same in Calgary. So always look forward to these games because they bring the best and sometimes the worst out of each other.
I like to call it the hair versus the beard. That's what we always see between these two teams. He mentioned 2 players there, and we're going to talk about both of them. Let's begin with Dan Klomp and what he has been able to do, because, you know, Tommy pointing out, yes, he's defensively sound, but he can be sneaky good as well offensively when they need a goal.
Yeah, sneaky good for sure. When I was thinking about Dan Klomp and you're going over a play and I'm hearing Tommy Wheeldon Jr. speak about him, if I had to sum him up in one word for this season, it's going to be consistent, KJ. Because Cavalry have had their dry moments, and Tommy Wheeldon Jr. might not like when I say this, dormant moments, but there's a player that's been consistent, going forward, scoring goals, defending, making sure he's in the right place at the right time. And in this game, you're not going to be perfect. As a defender, you're going to have moments where there's a bit of a dip. But in terms of his effort and the product that he showed on the pitch, he's been consistent from the beginning to this game right now.
Yeah, look, if you think about Klomp's mindset, last season, you are easily the best defender in the Canadian Premier League, and you get the silverware rewarded for it. Credit the CPL for doing that, right? He gets Defender of the Year. He wins that, okay? He wins Player of the Year. Doesn't win Players Player of the Year. Musi gets it, but he wins Player of the Year and Defender of the Year. They win the regular season, and they lose the final in extra time when he really couldn't do anything else about it. And at that point, you think he's probably achieved everything he could achieve in the Canadian Premier League. You know, it makes no secret, he probably tried to get a bit of a move. I think he's good enough to play Major League Soccer. I think that's where he will go, or back to Europe. And then he starts this season where everyone else has got multi-year contracts in Calgary and he's got 1 year left. And so suddenly your mind starts to wander. You're a professional. And I think in the first couple of weeks, or certainly didn't necessarily make a big difference in his play, but you could see that he wasn't quite at that level and he needed time. As I said, the last 2 or 3 months, the way that he's played, he has elevated them to being one of the best teams in the league again. And it makes no coincidence that Klomp is back to the level that we saw last season consistently, where now he is not only a candidate once again to win Defender of the Year, he's a candidate once again to win Player of the Year. He's been that good. He scores crucial goals. They've got set pieces going. Defensively, he's very good. But when they play through the middle and he can become that third midfielder, particularly in the absence of Charlie Trafford, who's been a big loss, he allows Showman Gutierrez to go forward and almost be that 6 as he just leaves one defender behind him in possession.
Well, as you mentioned, Player Award, that went to Players Player.
Say it right.
Player.
Got it.
That's the award. Ali Musi, he scored in that final, but he too had to be substituted out. And of course, when that game ended up going the distance, you could just see how crushed he was that he was on the bench, and Forge going on and ultimately winning that one. But Ali Musi, Tommy, again, we've seen this guy score goals. We know he can do it, KJ. How big will that be for him here today?
Yeah, look, I think he'll have another big game, and you know that when Forge are looking to try and stop Cavalry, they know that, you know, you're talking to your defenders and saying, he's cutting in, and he's a little bit, we talked about Schaffelberg for Canada, he is happy to shoot and follow on the rebound. And what Cavalry lacked when Musi was injured, you know, when he missed all those games, he missed 3 months, was they lacked that aggression. They lacked somebody who was willing to make those effort and go for it. They're all really good players that they've got. Wojciechowski holds the ball up really well. They've got a lot of good players, but they don't have that dynamic killer, and that's what he is.
He is that, and for me, the only image that's coming to my mind, bear with me, people, but Mario when he's small, and he hits that question mark and he gets that mushroom and he ends up being big, that's Ali Musi for Cavalry. They're a great team. They've always been a great team. When that man is firing, you like the reference? That's why you know. And he's firing. They are dangerous and can compete with the best. When he's going, and you're so right, his nose for goal and the way he wants to go and produce every time. I've seen him get subbed off when he's come back and he was frustrated because he didn't score. That's CR7 type of mentality.
Yeah,
he wants to go and make sure that he's making an impact all the time. And if he can just play at that 80%, that nice little bubble that he was at last season, Cavalry have a shot for sure.
All right, you guys are getting me excited for this game, and we've already had a great game that we just showed you between Canada and USA. So that game, plus this one, will continue to be dissected, plus some other big stories around the soccer world on match night. That will be following the full-time whistle here between Forge and Cavalry. When we come back, we'll continue to get you set up for this one. Forge right now holding on to top spot, wanting to create a little bit more room, though, for themselves to sit comfortably up there. Cavalry, of course, would like to climb up the standings a little bit more. That's all coming up as we continue here on the Tony Bet Match of the Week on One Soccer.
Tony Bet.
At Tony Bet, get treated like a VIP. Bet on live games with odds on all sorts of sports. That's what you get when you bet with
Tony Bet.
Degree, 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree, keeps working when others stop.
Hey, let's go somewhere beachy. I don't like sand. What? What about Cancun sand? It's so soft. Or maybe Caribbean white sand. Sure. Ooh, Costa Rican sand. It's got dolphins.
Costa Rica, then?
Yeah, Costa Rica.
Good choice.
It was all him.
With over 50 sunny destinations to choose from, we have a flight for that.
cuts it back. Borges! It's Borges! It's gorgeous! 2-0. Cisse, Chouanier, free run on Carducci. This to seal it. Cisse to Chouanier. The Canadian Premier League title is gonna go to Hamilton. Goes through the legs of Dan Clopton, goes to ground, point to the spot, penalty for Forge.
One of the biggest moments of his young career, one of the biggest of Carducci's to double it. Pasillas on his right, gets it by. Forge again, inevitable. A fourth consecutive Canadian Premier League final is headed their way. Tristan Borges, a player known for his moments of the extraordinary from the corner flag. Service and goals. Borges tries to win. Tristan Borges and Olympico in extra time. Are you kidding me?
So here's the parallel between the game we just showed you, USA and Canada. One of the things we talked about, Canadians now showing themselves to be perennial contenders. But what's missing? Hardware, something they haven't won since 2000. It's the same kind of conversation when you talk about Forge versus Cavalry. Cavalry, perennial contenders, but when it comes to winning hardware, it seems to be Forge who's always getting it done. And in fact, Forge has knocked out Cavalry 4 times when it comes to CPL playoffs. And I'm going to ask you guys to look into your crystal ball. Is that in like Mario Brothers? I don't know. They got a crystal ball? No, maybe not. All right, well, you're going to make it up. It's part of the game you're going to make up right now. Is this the year Cavalry can do it?
It's tough to say. I mean, I think keeping them healthy is a main priority. But look, the margins between last year's CPL final and the winner and the loser was just magic moments. And I think if you talk to Tommy Wooden Jr. and the Cavalry players, they'll feel like they did all that they could do to be there. KJ, it was really just the magic of a Tristan Borges or Benny Betabonga that really separated the two. I think in years past, you look at these two teams, and Forge were clear favorites in terms of the way they played the football, the way that they were tactically sound, the way that they could take care of matches. Right now, I look at both these teams as even, but I think the next 2 months are going to be really telling as to the football they're trying to play. I saw live Cavalry play York. They were very clinical. They were the better side, but for me, these are the two best teams in the league. And it really is a hairline who's better on the day. But if Cavalry can keep everything together, I think they could be that team.
Yeah, look, you have to split it between regular season and postseason a little bit. That stat that we have on the board right now includes postseason. So it's 13-8-8 for Forge. But in regular season, it's literally right down the middle. It's 7 wins each and 6 draws, right? In regular season, both these teams have played 140 CPL games. People think, oh, well, Forge have had the best record. No, Cavalry have got 16 more points than them. They've been the best team in a regular season since 2019, since it began. But they don't have the silverware. There's lots of reasons for that. One, when the CPL was created, it was all about the postseason and all about playoffs. Cavalry were the best team in 2019. If there was a shield, we wouldn't be talking about the fact they don't have silverware because they won the regular season in 2019 as well. So they would have been rewarded for those. So I do feel sorry for them. I don't think they get their due a lot. Because in knockout football, which is what this has been gauged on in terms of what is success and what's failure, then it has not gone their way, right? Forge have won 8 playoff games, postseason games. Cavalry have never won a game in the postseason. That's a stark contrast. Yet when it comes to regular season, you can't really split them. So, look, I picked Forge to win the Shield at the start of the year, and I picked Cavalry to win the Cup. So I'm going to stick to it. But I do think the way Forge have gone on this year, Cavalry are looking at that going, that's a mountain that's going to be difficult to climb. But I think Cavalry right now are peaking at the right time, and they'll be believing that they can do this.
Either way, it is just always fascinating to see this race, both in the regular season and, of course, if they do end up facing each other in the postseason, once again, between Cavalry and Forge. But let's talk about some playoff positioning when we do return. As we mentioned, Forge in the driver's seat right now in first place, in particular for the Shield. But what will playoff positioning mean for these two teams on their journey to once again being league champions. Stay with us as we get you set for the match.
Hey, let's go somewhere beachy. I don't like sand. What? What about Cancun sand? It's so soft. Or maybe Caribbean white sand. Sure. Ooh, Costa Rican sand. It's got dolphins.
Costa Rica then?
Yeah, Costa Rica.
Good choice.
It was all him.
With over 50 sunny destinations to choose from, we have a flight for that.
WestJet is a proud sponsor of the Canadian Premier League.
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing. Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
Volkswagen, the official automotive partner of the Canadian Premier League.
Power doesn't sound like it used to. The all-electric ID4 with instant acceleration. Electric feels good.
Volkswagen. Here's a look at how the playoff picture works in the CPL. This was started last year. It was highly entertaining. So the first and second place teams face each other. The winner of that goes straight to the final. Then a little bit more of a gauntlet. If you're the fourth or fifth place team, you have to play each other. Winner of that goes on to face York United. This is if the standings stay the way they are right now. And then they move on, as you can see, to take on the winner of match 2 in the final. So, of course, if you finish top 2, you give yourself a great chance to go into a game, win, go to the final. So what does that mean for these two teams here in particular with their playoff positioning?
Well, you want to be first, right? Ultimately, you want to. It's an enormous advantage to be able to play at home in that playoff game. And if you're forged today, you feel like you can stop Cavalry's chances.
Yeah, for sure. This is the last time these teams are playing each other, and then they got to go and play everyone else. But 7 points clear if you're forged. You're feeling really good about that victory.
Yeah, and the fans are just used to it. They are used to their team performing for them. They are expecting just that. But as mentioned, this is the fourth and final meeting. Each of them have a win this year. The last time they met was a draw. Wow, she was feisty. She's ready to go. The team needs her energy.
Allstate and its 900 agents proudly support Canadian soccer at every level. Visit allstate.ca.